so I am back with my recap of the other one, season 2, episode 1. A lot happened in this episode. So it picks up the day after the honeymoon episode, episode 7 of season 1. And obviously it picks up after Cat found out that they have a brother named Colin, which just so happens to be the guy's name that Cathy was making out at the time on the dance floor. They were all drunk. So now Cathy is now trying to break it down to her that, well, you know, that guy that you was kind of making out with, he's kind of maybe sort of our brother. And of course, initially she didn't think that Cat was being serious. She was like, girl, this is not happening to me again. Girl, stop playing with me.
But do you know the guy who gave you the love bite?
Very much.
Well, there's a strong possibility that he's our brother.
So originally she did come to the realization that Cat wasn't joking and that yes, they do in fact have a brother named Colin, and she flipped out. So Tess and Marilyn, they're in a restaurant, and of course Tess is still zen. She's like, girl, I just had to forgive him and move on with my life. Tess is still raging.
I can't even put into words the sheer cockery of that prick.
The wheel mentioned Angela, their address, so she knows who the other woman was. She knows where this woman lives. And, you know, Tess is basically like, girl, I'm about to, I spend most of my time worried about my family and my husband, and he gone, and I just got to focus on me, and I got to be happy, and I'm about to inherit this money get this money from his estate, and I'm just going to go out and enjoy life, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to buy me a new car. And she's like, so what you going to do? So basically, Marilyn's decided that she's going to obsess over Angela, right?
What's top of your list?
Go to that bitch's house.
Smashing.
So, Cat takes Cathy home, and Cat obviously wants to find Colin to tell him because, she's like, he's our brother, he has a right to know. Cathy on the other hand is like, girl, did I commit a crime? He's my brother, we made out. And of course Cathy's like, girl, you're making a big deal out of it. It's not a big deal.
Oh my god!
Oh, Cathy, I think you're overreacting.
How am I supposed to react? I may have French kissed a sibling.
So they go into the house, and who's there? Marcus. So I'm not sure how long their honeymoon was supposed to be, but this is still the day after Cathy and Cat went out. So they're back. Marcus is back with Meredith, the person he ran off with, and he done moved Meredith in the house. And not only has he moved Meredith in the house, he didn't plan a party for Meredith because she was on some bake-off show that they all love, and she was contested on there. And so he's throwing this party in what is his house as well as Cathy's house. And so, of course, one of the guests show up, and of course, he's like trying to read the room, like, "Oh, okay, did I get the wrong day? What's going on in here?"
On your mark, set, pick. Have I got the wrong names?
So, there's some back and forth, and he ended up asking her because Cathy had a hickey on her neck. He was looking at her like, "Are you okay? What happened there?" And so, Cat jumped in and said, "Well, she was making out with this sexy model."
If you must know, Marcus, it's a love bite from a dead sexy model.
You go, girl.
So, Cathy is now staying with her mother. And her mother, I don't know what the hell's wrong with her. She's just a bitch. So her way of comforting Cathy is to say that, from now on, I'm not going to watch the Bake Off live because I'm not going to give them my views. I'll watch it on playback. So instead of just boycotting the show altogether because the woman that ran off with her husband, what was supposed to be her husband, was on the show, her way of showing solidarity is to just watch the playback instead of watching it live.
Out of solidarity, I will be watching Bake Off on catch-up and not live. I don't deserve my viewing figure.
And then, she brought up to comfort her some cake. And she's eating this cake, and she was like, "Is this my wedding cake?" And her mom was like, "Well, yeah, I just didn't think it was, I didn't want to waste it." And she, now that I think about it, she started to say, I should have asked Meredith to bake the cake.
Of course, with hindsight, I should have asked Meredith to bake.
So, Cat finally gets home, and she realized her mother isn't there. Her mama not there because she's stalking Angela. Remember when I said earlier that the address to where Angela lives is in the wheel. So she is standing outside these people's house, right? Just looking through the gate. Now the thing is, she ain't even trying to hide because they're standing in the window looking at her. And it was like, the guy, her husband, Peter, was like, okay, and she's been out there for like an hour. Like, what is she doing? Who is she?
Ange, they're still there. They've been out there for over an hour.
So, Tess makes good on her promise that she's going out and live life. And so she went to the lot and she met Eric, who's a car salesman. And she's now got this little red Ferrari that she's decided she wants to test drive.
I'd like to test drive that sexy little red number.
So, Cathy and Cat are now together the next day, and she's checking her messages and she realized that Colin called her and left a message. And and then he was like, yeah, well, this is Colin, some sex goddess, something she had called him, right?
Yeah, this is Colin, by the way, or the sex horse.
Right. And he wanted her to call. So Cat decided this would be the opportunity for Cathy to make plans to meet up with him so that they could talk to him to let him know what the deal is. So we flash back to Angela and Marilyn. So Angela's at the gym and Marilyn is just standing outside. She can clearly see this woman standing out there. And she is just like, there's like this stare down between them. Eventually, Angela gets tired of this weirdo woman following her all over the place and standing outside the house. So she calls security, and Marilyn ends up getting tackled by security at the gym.
What you say?
Stay down!
So Cathy and Cat eventually meet up with Marcus. And of course, at this point, he's still thinking that him and Cathy gonna get some going, and they eventually tell him that, Cat ends up asking them, is your mother named Angela? Yes. Do you live at that address? Yes. Do you know this man? She showed him a picture of Colin. He was like, oh yeah, Colin was the guy that did the quiz at the pub. And so of course she eventually tells him that Colin could possibly be his father.
Because Colin, the pub guy, well, he's all of our dads.
So we flash back to the gym. Tess ended up having to go and get Marilyn. She's standing out there between two security guards. Because they just want to make sure that she get off the property. So she ends up getting into the car, this Ferrari that she's test driving, and they're now on their way.
I've come to retrieve my friend.
So Marilyn is still very much raging over this fact that her lover would take another lover, right? So she was a mistress and she's so outdone that he would take another mistress because she was supposed to be all that in a bag of chips. And their love was supposed to be all this and that. So, they're talking and, they pull away from that and I think Tess ends up asking Eric something about the car. And he was like, to be honest, I don't know nothing about cars. I'm only here because I owe my stepfather money. It's my stepfather's, lot. And I owe him like $2,000 for using his credit card to buy something.
Because it's my stepfather's place and I owe him $2,500.
And, he really's into other things. He doesn't want to really be there. And so they talk, and, Tess figured, you know what, I understand what it's like to, have passions and not be able to fulfill them. So she was like, you know what, if I buy this car, is that going to clear your debt? And he said, yeah. So she was like, consider it sold. She decided she was going to buy the car. So now Cathy and Cat and Colin are sitting out in front of his house. So eventually he goes in, and he, next thing you know, he drives out because, of course, his mom, obviously admits to something. And so he drives off. And Peter, her husband, is in the house. He closed the security gate, and now he done locked her out the house.
No, Peter, just open the gate.
So, of course, they couldn't leave her on the ground, so they ended up taking her to Cat's house. Now, remember, Marilyn's been following someone all over town, right? So they're at the house, and Marilyn and Tess show up, and of course, Marilyn is like, what is this woman doing in my house? And so, of course, they're looking confused, because she was like, wait a minute, you've been following me all over town, and so now they're going back and forth, and, Angela's saying it's your girl's fault, because they blurted this stuff out to Colin before I even had a chance to explain myself.
Your daughter's blurted out the contents of that dickhead's will before I had a chance to explain myself.
And, while all this is going on, you can see Cathy in the background looking at some paperwork, and then she reveals that she's trying to understand this paperwork because it's saying that her father didn't really have, his estate doesn't have any money.
I'm just a little confused about this solicitor's letter. It seems to say that Dad had no money when he died.
And so, of course, Tess hits the roof because She just bought this Ferrari for God knows how much, and she's now realizing that she don't have no money.